In this episode, we are going to break down one of my favorite safety management systems, VPP. We're going to talk about the Voluntary Protection Program, partnering with OSHA, all the things that go into that process. We'll break down sort of how OSHA established it, some of the values and principles, and how you can apply and what that process is like. And we will round out this 6-part series. I can't believe I spent 6 episodes talking about safety management systems, but I've had a lot of fun talking with colleagues and other professionals and researching and putting all of this together. So this rounds out the 6-part series on all things safety management systems. So let's get into the OSHA VPP right now.
Welcome to the Safety Pro Podcast, powered by iReportSource, helping you manage safety one episode at a time. With the constant regulatory and workplace culture challenges businesses face, we'll provide you with all the relevant information necessary to achieve a safer, more productive workplace. No management theories, platitudes, or guru speak, just actionable info you can use right away. Now here's your host, the Safety Pro himself, Blaine Hoffman.
Welcome back to another episode of the Safety Pro Podcast. As mentioned, all you need to know about OSHA's VPP in this episode. Well, maybe not all you need to know, and I'll explain that at the end. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, way back on July 2nd of 1982, they announced the establishment of the Voluntary Protection Programs, or VPP, to recognize and promote effective worksite-based safety and health management systems. And I say programs with an S because there are several. We'll get into just one of them in this episode, the STAR program. Now, in the VPP, management, labor, and OSHA, they establish cooperative relationships at workplaces that are implementing or have implemented comprehensive safety and health management systems. Approval into VPP is OSHA's official recognition of the outstanding efforts of employers and employees working together who have created exemplary worksite safety and health management systems, and they offer assistance to sites committed to achieving the VPP level of excellence as well, and we'll get into some of that. Now, VPP is founded on some principles, and OSHA spells this out in their guidebook, their CSP manual. I won't get into the government acronyms, but it's basically the program manual, okay? So I will have a link to the program manual, a direct link to the PDF as well in the show notes. Again, I apologize, folks on Spotify, the links and show notes don't work. You can go to thesafetypropodcast.com for this episode and get those links there. So let's get into the VPP principles because they are important. They will lay the foundation for everything you do in the VPP. The first one is voluntarism. Participation in VPP is strictly voluntary. So the applicant that wishes to participate freely submits information to OSHA on its safety and health management system that, how it goes above and beyond compliance with the OSH Act and any other applicable OSHA requirements, and opens itself up to agency review. That's key. You completely volunteer for this. The next VPP principle is cooperation. OSHA has long recognized that a balanced, multifaceted approach is the best way to accomplish the goals of the Occupational Safety and Health Act. So VPP's emphasis on trust and cooperation between OSHA, the employer, the employees, and the employee's representatives complements the agency's enforcement activity, but does not take its place. So you still have the compliance or enforcement piece in play here, right? So that's a myth about VPP. Some folks that criticize VPP and say, I'm not in favor of VPP because I don't think any company should be exempt from complying with OSHA. Well, that's not what that means, okay? Far from it, actually, and I'll explain that here in a second. VPP staff and VPP participants, they work together to resolve any safety and health problems that may arise. So this partnership enables the agency to remove participants from the programmed inspection lists, allowing OSHA to focus its inspection resources on establishments in greater need of that oversight and intervention. This is where folks get a little confused. They think, oh, you're exempt from OSHA citations. No, you're not. just if you happen to be in an industry that is on a programmed inspection list or targeted inspection list, I should say. So that's the only piece. Here's what I explain to people. If you do not pursue VPP and you just coast along with minimum compliance, you are likely statistically to not see OSHA very often, if at all. Okay? Statistically speaking, if you just look at the numbers, that is, the number of inspections they perform, the number of citations they issue, the number of compliance officers per area, and the number of employers, and you just add all this up, the statistics are in your favor of not seeing OSHA very often, if at all. So a VPP participant not only calls OSHA, gets on their radar, says, we want to partner with you, we want to send you all of our how we comply with or exceed minimum compliance with the OSH Act and OSHA regulations, how we drive employee involvement. We're going to send you this in writing. We're going to commit to it. We're going to invite you into our facility, and I'll get to the on-site visit as well here later in this episode, but we're going to open our doors to you, and we're going to let you come in with a team that you handpick to put us through the ringer and talk to our people, and then every year we're going to submit a written report and show you how we're maintaining or reducing our injury illness rates, right, per the program requirements. And then every 5 years, we got to recertify and have you back. You're actually in front of OSHA more often under a microscope than you would be if you had not pursued VPP. So hats off to these companies that volunteer to cooperate, the first two principles, with OSHA, because it's not easy. I've been there. I have a dozen or so flags under my belt with various sites I've worked at, companies I've worked for, as well as clients that I helped achieve VPP star status. So it's not easy. It's tough, but I love this program for many reasons. So let's continue with the cooperation piece, right? Now, remember, it's very important. OSHA continues to investigate valid employee safety and health complaints, fatalities, catastrophes, and other significant events, even at VPP participant sites. And VPP, by the way, does not replace or diminish any of the rights to a workplace free of recognized hazards, or diminish or replace any of the rights and responsibilities that employers have as well. That's a myth. The next VPP principle is a systems approach. Now, we've talked a lot about this in this 6-part series, right? Well, this being the 6th one, but we've talked a lot about a systems approach. Compliance with the Occupational Safety and Health Act and all of the applicable OSHA requirements is just the starting point for VPP participants. I say it's the starting point for any company. If you're trying to achieve compliance, you're already behind. That means you're already out of compliance. That should be the starting point. We should always start in compliance at a minimum, and anything we do just builds on that, okay? But VPP participants, they develop and implement systems to effectively identify, evaluate, prevent, and control occupational hazards to prevent injuries and illnesses to the workers. Now, STAR participants, in particular, are often on the leading edge of hazard prevention methods and technology. As a result, VPP worksites, they serve as models of safety and health for excellence, demonstrating the benefits of a systems approach to employee protection. OSHA will use some of the leading practices that STAR sites put together and develop when they go and look at non-compliant sites that they go and do some assistance and outreach, or even just some citation work. Some of the best practices that they offer up these other companies that need help come from STAR worksites. Okay, so OSHA will actually benefit and learn and grow. So if you are complaining about how OSHA doesn't understand how we have to deal with this, that, and the other, and how much work goes into how we protect our workers, put your money where your mouth is. That's what I say. Show them. They would love to hear it. They would love to learn and use that to share with other companies. So let's move on to the next VPP principle. Model work sites for safety and health. Okay, I mentioned that STAR sites are usually sort of on the leading end and models, but one of their principles is that they call out model work sites. OSHA selects VPP participants based on their written safety and health management system, the effective implementation of the system over time, right? So you got to have all these elements in place for at least 12 months or more before you can even apply. And so they have to see this over time. And their performance, the worker or applicant's performance in meeting the VPP requirements. They look at all of this. Not all work sites are appropriate candidates for VPP for this reason, right? At qualifying sites, personnel are involved in the effort to maintain rigorous, detailed attention to safety and health, and participants often mentor other work sites that are interested in improving safety and health. They, participation in safety and health outreach and training initiatives. They provide OSHA with input on proposed policies and standards. I mean, they are model work sites for safety and health. It's not enough to just have a systems approach and internally be sort of this model for safety and health. Model work sites for safety and health in this principle, this separate principle, means that you share that with others. You share those best practices and promote excellence in safety and health in your industry and community. Another VPP principle, continuous improvement, another one that we've talked about in this 6-part series. Now, VPP participants have to demonstrate continuous improvement in the operation and impact of their safety and health management system. Annual VPP self-evaluations, they will help the participants measure their success and identify areas that need improvement and determine, the changes therein. Now, that was the annual report that you have to submit to OSHA. You're actually conducting an annual review of your system. So you're doing this every year. And that's why I say it's, if you're a VPP participant, you're in a much better position than a non-VPP company. And the last principle, employee and employer rights. I mentioned it before, but participation in VPP does not diminish employee and employer rights and responsibilities under the OSH Act. So keep that in mind. Now, I mentioned there are different programs under VPP, right? So let's talk about the participation levels. There are 3 levels of participation. One is STAR program. I mentioned that's the best of the best, but STAR program recognizes safety and health excellence of work sites where employees are successfully protected from fatality, injury, or illness by the implementation of comprehensive and effective workplace safety and health management systems. These work sites are self-sufficient in identifying and controlling workplace hazards. That's the STAR program. There's a merit program. This program recognizes work sites that have good safety and health management systems and show willingness, commitment, and the ability to achieve site-specific goals that will qualify them for STAR participation eventually. So they're in a merit program. You can graduate to STAR. Then there are STAR demonstration programs. These programs recognize work sites that have STAR quality safety and health management systems, but they differ in some significant fashion from the VPP model and thus don't meet current STAR requirements. So a STAR demonstration program tests this alternative approach to ascertain if it is as protective as current STAR requirements. So again, there's always an opportunity to go to STAR. Now, let's focus on the STAR program, on VPP STAR. There are certain elements of this program. So to qualify for VPP, you must operate a comprehensive safety and health management system that includes 4 essential elements and sub-elements. Now, these elements, when integrated into a work site's daily operations, can reduce the incidence and severity of illnesses and injuries over time and even prevent them, which is why they focus on these. The 4 elements are 1, management leadership and employee involvement, 2, worksite analysis, 3, hazard prevention and control, and 4, safety and health training. These 4 elements will sound familiar. We talked about ISO 45001 and we talked about ANSI ASSP Z10, and they have, sections, they call them, but VPP has 4 elements, and don't be fooled by the fact that there are only 4 elements. The sub-elements are, there's some pretty hefty hurdles to get over. Look, STAR participation, first off, there's no limit to the term of the participation in STAR. As long as the participant continues to meet all STAR requirements and can maintain that STAR quality, you're in the program indefinitely. So once you're in, which is good. I always told folks that maintaining and improving over time is the hardest. Keeping the energy up, keeping the buy-in, keeping the interest in continuous improvement, that is hard, much harder than the initial high that you get starting out applying and getting the star flag and plaque, which I'll talk about. But, once that high goes off, it's like the first day after Christmas, man. It's like a big letdown, but you got to keep it up. And that is a challenge for a lot of not just safety professionals, but business leaders to keep people engaged. It's so exciting to see companies that have been in the VPP 20 plus years, just cruising along, continuously improving. It's exciting. Now, there are some requirements to apply. One, I'm going to talk about injury and illness history requirements, okay? OSHA will evaluate your injury and illness history by using a 3-year total case incident rate, or TISR, and a 3-year days away restricted or job transfer incident rate, or DART rate. That 3-year TISR and DART rate, it has to be below at least one of the 3 most recent years of specific industry national averages for non-fatal injuries and illnesses at the most precise level published by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, or BLS. Compare both rates to a single year. Okay, so that's what you have to do. Using a 3-year total case average for DART and TISR, pick one of the 3 most recent years. You have to be below at least one of the 3 most recent years, according to BLS. There, just keep that in mind. Now, for eligible smaller work sites, companies can use an alternative rate calculation using their best 3 out of the most recent 4 years of incident rates. So there is sort of this exception for small companies. All right, let's get into the participation process. The participation process consists of application submittal and review, an on-site evaluation, and an approval or denial process. OSHA provides the required application template, so it makes it super simple for applicants to spell out how the company meets or exceeds the various VPP expectations. Not only do you have to write it in narrative form, how you're meeting or exceeding each of the 4 elements and all of the sub-elements, but you also have to provide evidence. So, photos of examples of labels and signs and postings, copies of training certifications and, toolbox talks, and copies of your written programs and written manuals. And just, you have to provide evidence of some kind that you're, of what you're saying you're achieving or exceeding in the application template. So you're going to probably have 1 or more 3-ring binders of, we call them evidence binders, keyed to or tabbed to the sections in the application template. You can do this digitally and submit it all electronically, but you're going to want to send hard copies to OSHA as well. Now, once approved, OSHA will schedule an on-site visit, and this is where things get interesting, right? The on-site team, it will be assembled based on several factors, right? The size and locations of your various facilities, if you have more than one, the industry you're in, like, if you're construction, PSM, and others, and the unique conditions at your site. This may require, industrial hygiene experts, ergonomics experts, or other types of specialty expertise to assess some aspects of your work there. Now, for the most part, OSHA will request volunteers to be a part of this team. Now, the volunteers, this is where I said it gets interesting. The volunteers are from other VPP participating companies, and they've gone through specialized training with the Department of Labor to become what's known as Special Government Employees, or SGEs. And I use the term employees loosely. They don't work for the government. They are volunteers, and they are allowed to participate by their employer. That goes to this whole, model worksite thing where the companies agree to cough up their safety expert or one of their engineers, or, sometimes they're union, hourly union workers and machinists that will actually go through this training, and they can be a part of the on-site team going through your facility, talking to your machinists about leadership commitment, their involvement in safety. So it's really a peer review, a rigorous peer review, by the way. OSHA also has provisions in place to prevent competitor companies from being involved, as well as, guidelines to protect trade secrets. So you can read more about that on the OSHA website. Now, OSHA will review the written programs and documents. They will interview employees. They will conduct site reviews. All of this information will be documented on a form that they have to use, that all the participants have to use. And they're going to be reviewed each day by the on-site team lead. It's going to be the OSHA team lead. Now, any safety deficiencies they find, one, they're going to be communicated to the employer right away, okay? But they're going to be categorized in one of three ways. They're going to be, one, an OSHA minimum requirement, two, a VPP minimum requirement, or three, a STAR example. It's not really an OSHA requirement. It's not really a VPP requirement, but it's something that they would expect to see at a VPP STAR site, okay? So any deficiencies noted that would prevent the approval of the VPP application, they have to be corrected within 90 days of being notified, and OSHA will verify the corrections, okay? So, and if you don't, OSHA could reject the application, and you won't be able to reapply for another, 6 months. So the prep work before the on-site visit is critical. Get everybody ready for the on-site, not just cleaning everything up. I mean, you've got to assemble a team that is going to meet and greet and kind of usher the on-site team around and make accommodations. They're going to need conference rooms. They're going to need private rooms to interview people one-on-one, do some group interviews. They're going to need some space to review all your written programs and documents. They're going to break up and go in different areas, so you're going to have a company rep go with them to those different areas. And you're going to also want to make sure you commit somebody from maintenance to go along, because if they do find something, you fix something right there on the spot, that sends a clear message of your willingness to identify and correct hazards. I talk about that in previous episodes covering VPP. I'll reference that at the end of this episode as well. Now let's skip to the approval process. Okay, once you're approved, the OSHA area office will notify the Assistant Secretary of OSHA regarding the recommended acceptance into the VPP. Once that's signed, OSHA informs the applicant, your company, of their acceptance into the program. Now, OSHA awards newly approved participants a plaque. It's a nice little plaque and a STAR flag, okay? It's a proud moment when you hang that plaque and raise that flag. Trust me, I've been there, and it is a proud moment, and it's an opportunity to celebrate. And most companies actually have a flag ceremony to celebrate this well-deserved achievement, and they invite the OSHA outreach specialist in, they invite friends and colleagues and contractors that participated and have a party. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. Now, I talked about you could stay in as long as you meet the requirements, but companies can be removed, kicked out for various reasons. One is if the union retracts its support for VPP. I didn't touch on this yet, but I will mention this. This has happened before. But any union representation must co-sign on the application or submit a letter stating they do not object to the company's application for VPP. And again, you can read more about union support on the VPP website. Now, I recorded a 4-part series breaking down all 4 elements and all the sub-elements a while back. Okay, I'm going to list them and link to them in the show notes here. Give them a listen because it does. I break down all 4 elements and all the sub-elements. I walk through every one of them for you, okay, and give you examples of how to meet or exceed those requirements. Forgive me on the audio. I remember when I recorded those, I did them all at once, but I diced them up and released them in 4 separate episodes, each one covering a different element. But I was traveling. I was at a VPP site at the time, and I was in the hotel room. You know, I didn't have my recording studio with me, but look, the information is spot on. It's valuable. It still applies today. So forgive the audio quality. I have improved it much over the years, but it's great information for anybody looking to do a deep dive on each of the 4 elements of VPP. So go ahead and go back and listen to those. Now, as a recap, VPP principles are in line with other leading safety management systems in that they require a systems approach. Talked a lot about that. A process of continuous improvement. So we talked about that a lot as well. And what I like about VPP is the support for the program, not only from OSHA and other participants, but there is a world-class organization dedicated to supporting VPP participants. They are called, in fact, the VPP Participants Association, or VPPPA. If you listen to the podcast frequently, you know that I was podcasting from their National Safety Plus Symposium in New Orleans just this past August. I will be back in Orlando for the 2020 National Safety Plus Symposium as well. A fantastic organization. Look, take a look at their website. Learn more about what they can do and how they can help you. Whether you're a company that is a VPP site, you're thinking about applying for VPP, or you're just wanting to learn from the best so that you can improve safety for your people, VPP PA is for you. And as always, I always have to add this, no affiliation. I'm not paid by VPP PA. They invited me to come and podcast from their event. They embrace everybody like us that has one focus, and that is, helping others improve the safety and health of their employees. That's what they're about. So they are a fantastic organization. I can't say enough good things about them. I would encourage anybody who is, again, a VPP site, thinking about VPP, or you just want to learn from VPP sites and achieve that level of excellence for your employees, then please check out vpppa.org. I'll have a link in the show notes as well. Hey, look, that's what I wanted to cover today, right? What you need to know about OSHA's VPP. Check out those other episodes diving into each of the 4 elements and how you can achieve VPP star status and submit that application and be a part of that exclusive club. And it is exclusive, okay? It's difficult, but not impossible, and you will reap the benefits on the other side. Trust me, I have seen it myself firsthand. So let me know what you think about ISO 45001, ANSI ASSP Z10, or OSHA's VPP, my favorite. Let me know. Shoot me a message on LinkedIn. And until the next Safety Pro podcast episode, as always, be safe.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Safety Pro Podcast, powered by iReportSource, the all-in-one digital safety solution. For info on how you can request a free demo on all the capabilities of iReportSource to streamline your business's safety management system, head over to thesafetypropodcast.com. We look forward to helping you manage safety on the next episode of the Safety Pro Podcast.